Dr. Elena Vasquez floated in the command center of the deep space research vessel Pioneer. Her dark eyes studied the holographic display in front of her. The stars around them looked different here, far beyond the edge of human space. They had traveled further from Earth than any human before them. "Doctor, we are getting some strange readings from Sector 7, called out Lieutenant James Park from his station. His voice carried a hint of confusion. Elena pushed herself away from the display and drifted over to James's workstation. The gravity generators on Pioneer were kept at minimum power to save energy during their long journey. Everything felt light and floating. "What kind of readings?" Elena asked. She had been the lead scientist on 12 deep space missions, but this was her first time this far out in the void between star systems. James pointed at his screen. Numbers and graphs covered the display. "There is something big out there." "Really?" "Big. At first I thought it was just a rogue planet, but look at these energy signatures." Elena studied the data. Her eyebrows rose slowly. After 20 years of studying space, she knew what planets should look like on their scanners. This was not normal. "How big is it?" she asked. "About the size of Mars, maybe a bit bigger," James replied. "But here is the weird part. It is giving off heat, not just a little bit, a lot of heat. And there are metal readings coming from inside it." Elena felt her heart beat faster. Rogue planets were not uncommon in space. These were planets that had been thrown out of their star systems, and now drifted alone in the dark. But rogue planets were cold and dead. They did not give off heat or show signs of metal. "Are you sure about these readings?" Elena asked. James nodded. "I have checked them 3 times. The computer confirms everything." Elena looked around the command center. The Pioneer carried a crew of 42 humans. They were scientists, engineers, and explorers. All of them had volunteered for this mission to explore the empty space between star systems. Most people thought this area held nothing interesting. Elena had believed they might find new types of cosmic dust or maybe some asteroids. She never expected to find anything like this. "Captain Rodriguez," Elena called out, "can you come look at this?" Captain Maria Rodriguez pushed off from her command chair and floated over to them. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been flying ships in deep space for 30 years. "What do you have for me, Doctor?" the captain asked. Elena pointed at the display. "We found something unusual. A planet-sized object that should not be there." Captain Rodriguez studied the readings for several minutes. Her face grew more serious as she looked at the data. "This is not a planet," she said finally. "Planets do not work this way." "That is what we think too," Elena said. "We need to get closer and take better scans." Captain Rodriguez nodded slowly. "How close do you want to get?" Elena thought about it. They were currently about 2 million kilometers away from the object. At that distance, their scans could only pick up basic information. 100,000 kilometers, Elena said. "That should give us detailed readings without putting the ship in danger." "All right," Captain Rodriguez said. "But we go slow and careful. If this thing shows any signs of being dangerous, we back off immediately," Elena agreed. Safety was always the first concern on deep space missions. They were so far from Earth that no one could help them if something went wrong. Captain Rodriguez returned to her command chair and began giving orders to the crew. "All stations prepare to change course. We are moving closer to investigate an unknown object." The Pioneer slowly turned toward the mysterious object. Their engines were designed for long journeys, not speed. It would take them several hours to reach their target distance. Elena returned to her laboratory to prepare her equipment. She wanted to run every test possible on this object. In the lab, she found her assistant, Dr. Chun Wei, working on calibrating their most sensitive scanners. "Chun, we have found something incredible," Elena said. She quickly explained what they had discovered. Chun stopped his work and stared at Elena. "A planet that gives off heat and contains metal? That sounds impossible." "No," Elena said. "But the readings are clear. This could be the discovery of a lifetime." Elena and Chun spent the next 3 hours preparing their instruments. They set up scanners that could detect different types of metals, energy sources, and even artificial structures. If this object was not natural, they wanted to prove it. As the Pioneer moved closer, the readings became even more strange. The object was definitely round like a planet, but the surface looked too smooth. Real planets had mountains, valleys, and craters. This object looked almost perfectly spherical. "Dr. Vasquez, to the command center," came Captain Rodriguez's voice over the communication system. Elena quickly made her way back to the command center. When she arrived, she saw that everyone was staring at the main display screen. The object now filled most of the screen. "My God," Elena whispered. The object looked like a planet, but something was wrong with it. The surface was a dull gray color, with strange patterns across it. As Elena watched, she could see faint lights moving under the surface. "The heat signatures are stronger now," James reported, "and I am detecting multiple energy sources inside the object. There are also what look like corridors or tunnels running through the interior." Elena felt dizzy. Corridors and tunnels meant this was artificial. Someone or something had built this. "How old do you think it is?" Captain Rodriguez asked. Elena studied the readings. "The materials show signs of extreme age. This could be millions of years old, maybe more." Dr. Sarah Kim, the team's geologist, spoke up from her station. "Captain, I am detecting hollow spaces inside the object, large hollow spaces. Some of them are the size of cities." The command center fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. They had found evidence of an ancient civilization. Not just evidence, but a massive construction that dwarfed anything humans had ever built. "Chun, are you getting readings on the composition of the outer shell?" Elena asked. Chun checked his instruments. "It appears to be a metal alloy that we do not recognize. It is incredibly strong and seems to be designed to look like planetary rock from a distance." Elena's mind raced with possibilities. This is not just a structure. It is disguised to look like a planet. Someone built this and then hid it. Captain Rodriguez made a decision. "I'll stop. We maintain this distance until we understand what we are dealing with." The Pioneer's engines shut down. They now floated in space, studying the massive artificial planet in front of them. "Doctor, there's something else," James said quietly. "I am detecting similar energy signatures from other directions. Faint ones, but they are there." "What do you mean?" Elena asked. James worked at his station for several minutes. Then he put the results on the main screen. The display showed their current location and dozens of red dots scattered throughout the galaxy. "There are more of them," James said. "A lot more. I count at least 40 similar signatures within range of our long-distance scanners." Elena stared at the display in shock. 40 planet-sized artificial constructs hidden throughout the galaxy. Who could have built such things, and why were they disguised as planets? "Captain, we need to report this to Earth immediately," Elena sighed. Captain Rodriguez nodded. "Communications, prepare a full data package for transmission to Earth, include all our scans and findings." The communications officer began preparing the message. It would take several hours for the signal to reach the nearest human outpost, and then several more hours to reach Earth. Elena looked back at the massive object on their screen. Its surface seemed to pulse with faint internal light. Whatever civilization had built this, they had possessed technology far beyond anything humans could imagine. "What do you think happened to them?" Chun asked quietly. Elena shook her head. "I do not know, but I intend to find out." As the Pioneer continued to scan the artificial planet, Elena began to plan their next moves. They would need to find a way to get inside the structure. They would need to study its technology and learn about the beings who had created it. She did not know that their discovery was being watched. Deep in space, ancient sensors detected the human ship and sent alerts across the galaxy. Civilizations that had remained hidden for millions of years now stirred with concern. The humans had found what they were never supposed to find. And some beings in the galaxy would do anything to keep the secrets of the planet ships buried forever. But Elena and her crew were focused only on the mystery in front of them. They had made the greatest discovery in human history, and they were determined to unlock its secrets. The artificial planet waited silently in the void, keeping its ancient mysteries hidden beneath its disguised surface. Soon, the humans would attempt to breach that surface and discover the truth about the beings who had built such impossible things. Elena stared at the display and felt a mixture of excitement and fear. They were about to change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. 3 days had passed since the pioneer first discovered the artificial planet. Dr. Elena Vasquez had barely slept during that time. She spent every waking moment studying the scans and planning how to learn more about the mysterious object. The crew had established a safe orbit around the construct. From this close distance, their instruments revealed even more amazing details. The surface was not solid rock as it appeared from far away. Instead, it was made of millions of hexagonal panels that fit together perfectly. Each panel was about the size of a football field. "Doctor, I think I found something," called Dr. Chunwei from his workstation. His voice carried excitement mixed with confusion. Elena floated over to Chun's station. On his screen was a detailed scan of one section of the artificial planet's surface. "Look at this pattern," Chun said, pointing to his display. "These are not random panels, they form a design. Almost like a door." Elena studied the image carefully. Chun was right. In one area, the hexagonal panels created a circular pattern that was different from the rest of the surface. It looked like it might be an entrance of some kind. "How big is it?" Elena asked. "About 2 kilometers across," Chun replied. "Big enough for a ship our size to enter if it really is a door." Elena felt her heart racing. The possibility of actually entering the construct was both thrilling and terrifying. What would they find inside something this ancient and massive? "Captain Rodriguez," Elena called out. "You need to see this." Captain Rodriguez floated over and examined Chun's findings. She studied the circular pattern for several minutes before speaking. "It does look like an entrance," she agreed. "But how do we open it? And more importantly, should we try?" Elena understood the captain's concern. They were alone in deep space, far from any help. If something went wrong, no one could rescue them. But the chance to explore inside this artificial planet was too important to pass up. "We have to try," Elena said. "This could be the greatest discovery in human history. We cannot just look at it from the outside." Captain Rodriguez nodded slowly. "What do you suggest?" Elena had been thinking about this problem for hours. "We start by trying to communicate with it. If this was built by intelligent beings, maybe it will respond to signals." "What kind of signals?" Captain Rodriguez asked. "Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, basic physics equations," Elena explained. "Universal concepts that any advanced civilization would understand." Captain Rodriguez considered this. "All right, but we do this carefully. At the first sign of danger, we retreat," Elena agreed. She spent the next hour working with the communications team to prepare different signal patterns. They started with simple mathematical sequences like counting numbers and prime numbers. Then they tried basic physics equations and even musical patterns. For 2 hours, they sent signals toward the circular pattern on the planet's surface. Nothing happened. The construct remained silent and motionless. "Maybe it is too old," suggested Lieutenant James Park. "The systems might not work anymore." Elena was starting to feel disappointed when suddenly every instrument on the Pioneer began beeping at once. "Captain, we are getting a response," called the communications officer. "Multiple signals coming from the planet." On the main screen, the circular pattern began to glow with soft blue light. The hexagonal panels started moving, rotating, and sliding apart. Within minutes, a perfect circular opening appeared in the surface of the artificial planet. "My God," whispered Captain Rodriguez, "it worked." Elena stared at the opening in amazement. Through the gap, they could see lights inside the construct. It was not empty. Something was still active inside this ancient creation. "Doctor, I am detecting atmosphere inside the opening," reported Dr. Sarah Kim. "It appears to be breathable. Oxygen, nitrogen, and trace gases. Very similar to Earth's atmosphere." This was another shock. Not only was the construct still active, but it maintained an atmosphere that humans could breathe. There is more, Dr. Kim continued. The internal temperature is comfortable for humans, about 20 degrees Celsius. Elena looked at Captain Rodriguez. It is almost like it is inviting us inside. Captain Rodriguez was quiet for several minutes. Elena could see her weighing the risks and benefits. Finally, the captain made her decision. We go in, she said. But we take every precaution. Emergency protocols are in effect. If anything seems wrong, we leave immediately. Elena felt a surge of excitement. They were about to become the first humans to enter an alien construct. The possibilities were endless. Captain Rodriguez began giving orders to the crew. All stations, prepare for entry into the construct. Engineering, I want. Our engines ready for immediate departure if needed. Security teams, full alert. The Pioneer slowly moved toward the opening in the artificial planet. As they got closer, Elena could see more details of the interior. The walls inside glowed with the same soft blue light. She could make out what looked like corridors and chambers extending deep into the construct. Captain, the opening is getting larger, reported James. It is expanding to accommodate our ship. Elena watched in wonder as the circular entrance grew wider. The hexagonal panels continued sliding apart until the opening was large enough for the Pioneer to pass through easily. Someone or something is controlling this, Elena said. The construct is responding to our presence. As the Pioneer entered the artificial planet, Elena felt like she was flying into a dream. The interior was vast beyond imagination. Their ship's lights illuminated corridors that stretched for kilometers in every direction. The walls were covered with patterns and symbols that looked like writing, but unlike any language humans had ever seen. Dr. Vasquez, you need to see. This, called Chun from his station. Elena looked at Chun's display and gasped. His deep-range scanners were revealing the true scale of the interior. The construct was not just hollow. It contained an entire world inside. There are cities in here, Chun said quietly. Huge cities, and what looked like transportation systems connecting them. This place could have housed millions of beings. Elena stared at the scan results. The artificial planet contained structures that dwarfed Earth's largest cities. There were areas that looked like forests and lakes. It was like someone had built an entire world inside a planet-sized shell. Captain, I am detecting power sources throughout the construct, reported the engineering officer. This place is still running on some kind of energy system. After millions of years, it is still operational. Captain Rodriguez looked amazed. What kind of technology could run for millions of years without maintenance? Elena had no answer. Human technology required constant upkeep and repair. The idea of machines running perfectly for millions of years was beyond their understanding. As the Pioneer moved deeper into the construct, their lights revealed more wonders. They passed through chambers filled with strange machines. Some areas contained what looked like parks with artificial trees and grass. Other sections held massive libraries with walls covered in symbols and patterns. Doctor, I am getting some strange readings, said James. His voice sounded worried. What kind of readings? Elena asked. James checked his instruments again. There are other energy signatures out there? Not from this construct, from space around us. Elena felt a chill. What do you mean? I think we are being watched, James said quietly. There are ships out there, alien ships. Captain Rodriguez immediately went to full alert. How many ships? Where are they? James worked frantically at his station. I count at least 12 distinct signatures. They are staying far away, but they are definitely there. And Captain, these ships are using technology that is far more advanced than ours. Elena felt fear mixing with her excitement. Their discovery had attracted attention from other civilizations. Civilizations that had technology beyond human understanding. Captain, incoming transmission, called the communications officer. It is not in any human language. Put it on speakers, Captain Rodriguez ordered. Strange sounds filled the command center. It was clearly a language, but unlike anything any human had ever heard. The sounds were beautiful and complex, like music mixed with mathematics. Computer, can you analyze the transmission? Elena asked. The ship's computer worked for several minutes before responding. The transmission contains mathematical patterns and what appear to be universal concepts. It seems to be an attempt at communication, Elena's mind raced. They are trying to talk to us, just like we tried to talk to the construct. Captain Rodriguez looked grim. The question is, what do they want to say? The alien transmission continued for several more minutes, then it stopped. The Pioneer drifted in silence through the vast interior of the artificial planet. Captain, the alien ships are moving, reported James. They are coming closer. Elena looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were indeed approaching, but slowly. They did not seem hostile, just curious. Open a channel, Captain Rodriguez ordered. Let me try to respond. Captain Rodriguez spoke slowly and clearly into the communication system. This is Captain Maria Rodriguez of the human vessel Pioneer. We are explorers from the planet Earth. We mean no harm. For several minutes, there was no response. Then the alien transmission began again. This time, the sounds were different, softer and more welcoming. I think they understand us, Elena said. Or at least they understand that we are trying to communicate. Doctor, you need to see this, Chun called out urgently. Elena looked at Chun's display and saw something that made her heart stop. His scanners had detected dozens more of the hexagonal door patterns throughout the galaxy. But now those patterns were opening. The other artificial planets, Chun said in a whisper, they are all activating, all of them. Elena stared at the display in shock. Throughout the galaxy, ancient constructs that had remained hidden for millions of years were suddenly coming to life. Their discovery had triggered something vast and important. What have we done? Captain Rodriguez asked quietly. Elena had no answer. They had set out to explore empty space and found evidence of an ancient civilization. Now it seemed that civilization was not as extinct as they had thought. In the depths of the artificial planet around them, ancient systems continued to activate. Lights that had been dark for eons began to glow. Machines that had slept for millions of years started to hum with power. And throughout the galaxy, other civilizations watched in fear and wonder as humanity took its first steps toward uncovering secrets that had been hidden since before their species existed. Elena looked out at the vast interior of the construct and realized that their journey was just beginning. They had found something that would change everything humans thought they knew about the universe. But they were no longer alone in their discovery. Ancient eyes were watching them, and ancient minds were deciding what to do about the curious species that had awakened what should have remained sleeping. The first alien ship appeared on the Pioneer's main screen without warning. One moment the space around them was empty, and the next moment a vessel unlike anything humans had ever imagined hung motionless near the artificial planet's entrance. Doctor Elena Vasquez stared at the alien craft in amazement. It looked like it was made of living crystal that glowed with internal light. The ship had no obvious engines or weapons, yet it moved with perfect grace through space. Captain, I am detecting 11 more ships, reported Lieutenant James Park. They are surrounding us but maintaining distance. Captain Rodriguez kept her voice calm despite the tension everyone felt. Any signs of hostile intent? No weapons detected, replied the security officer. But Captain, their technology is so far beyond ours that they might have weapons we cannot recognize. Elena moved closer to the main screen to get a better look. At the lead alien ship, the crystal structure seemed to pulse with different colors of light. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Incoming transmission, announced the communications officer. Same language as before, but the signal is much clearer now. Put it through the translator? Captain Rodriguez ordered. The ship's computer had been working to decode the alien language since the first transmission. Now it began converting the alien sounds into English words. Greetings, humans of the vessel. Pioneer, came a voice that sounded like wind chimes mixed with music. We are the Kathmori. We have watched your species for many cycles of your star. Elena felt chills run down her spine. These aliens had been watching humanity for years, maybe decades. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. This is Captain Maria. Rodriguez, we are peaceful explorers. We mean no harm to you or anyone else. There was a pause before the alien voice responded. We know of your peaceful nature, Captain Rodriguez. That is why we reveal ourselves now. But you have discovered something that should have remained hidden. Elena could not stay quiet any longer. You mean the artificial planet? This incredible construction? Why should it be hidden? Another pause. Then the alien voice spoke again, and Elena could hear sadness in the strange tones. Because the last species to find these vessels brought death to half the galaxy. The command center fell silent. Elena felt her excitement about their discovery mixing with growing fear. What do you mean? Captain Rodriguez asked. The crystal ship moved closer to the Pioneer. As it approached, Elena could see that it was much larger than their vessel. Through the transparent sections, she glimpsed tall, graceful beings that seemed to be made of the same crystal as their ship. We will come aboard your vessel to explain, the alien voice said. There are things you must understand about what you have found. Captain Rodriguez looked uncertain. Allowing aliens onto their ship was a huge risk, but they needed answers about what they had discovered. Very well, the captain said finally. You may send a small delegation to meet with us. Within an hour, 3 Kethmori beings materialized in the Pioneer's main cargo bay. Elena had never seen anything like them. They stood 3 meters tall and appeared to be made of living crystal that shifted between blue and green colors. They moved with fluid grace and seemed to communicate with each other through flashes of light. The lead Kethmori approached the human delegation. When it spoke, the sound came from everywhere at once, as if the air itself was talking. I am Zithara, speaker for the Kethmori Collective. We have observed your species since you first left your homeworld. You show the same curiosity and determination that marked another species long ago. Elena stepped forward. What species? What happened to them? Zithara's crystal body dimmed slightly. They called themselves the Architects. Like you, they were explorers and builders. They spread across the galaxy, creating wonders beyond imagination. The artificial planets, Elena said. The Architects built them. Yes, Zithara confirmed. But they built them for a purpose you do not yet understand. These vessels are not just ships or homes. They are arcs designed to preserve and spread life throughout the universe. Dr. Xun Wei, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. Preserve life from what? Zithara turned toward Xun. From the darkness that comes between galaxies. The Architects discovered that every few million years something vast and hungry approaches from the void. Something that devours entire star systems. Elena felt her world shifting. Are you saying these planet ships are escape vessels? More than that, Zithara replied. They are seed ships. Each one contains the genetic patterns and knowledge of thousands of species. When the darkness comes, they are meant to flee to other galaxies and begin life anew. Captain Rodriguez stepped into the conversation. But you said the Architects brought death to the galaxy. How? Zithara's light dimmed further. The Architects became obsessed with their mission. They began taking genetic samples from every species they encountered, whether those species agreed or not. They started forcing entire civilizations to board their arc ships, claiming it was for the greater good. Elena began to understand. They became conquerors instead of saviors. Yes, Zithara said sadly, many species fought back. The galaxy burned with war for 10,000 years. In the end, the Architects vanished, leaving behind their empty ships and the scars of their conflicts. Dr. Sarah Kim, who had been studying the Kethmori with fascination, asked, What happened to them? Where did the Architects go? No one knows, Zithara admitted. Some say they found a way to transcend physical existence. Others believe they fled to distant galaxies. All we know is that they left behind their planet ships and a warning that the darkness would return. Elena's scientific mind was racing with questions. When will this darkness return? How do you know it exists? Zithara gestured with one crystalline arm, and a holographic display appeared in the air between them. It showed the galaxy as seen From far away, with dark tendrils reaching toward it from empty space, the signs are already beginning, Zithara explained. Star systems on the galactic edge have gone dark. The darkness consumes everything in its path, leaving nothing behind. Captain Rodriguez studied the hologram grimly. How long do we have? Perhaps 1,000 of your years, Zithara said. Maybe less. Elena stared at the holographic display in shock. Humanity had just learned they were not alone in the universe, and now they were being told that a cosmic threat was approaching that could destroy everything. Why are you telling us this? Elena asked. Why reveal yourselves now? Zithara turned to face her directly. Because your species has found the architect ships? You have the same curiosity and drive that led the architects to both great creation and terrible destruction. We must know which path humanity will choose, Dr. Chun spoke up again. What do you mean? What choice do we have? You can use the architect ships as they were intended, Zithara explained, as arcs to preserve life and knowledge. Or you can follow the architect path and try to force all species into your vision of salvation. Elena felt the weight of this responsibility. What if we choose neither? What if we try to find another way? For the first time, Zithmori's crystal body brightened slightly. That would be a new path. One that no species has tried before. Captain Rodriguez looked around at her crew. We need time to process this information. This is far beyond anything we were prepared for, Zithara nodded. We understand. But time is something none of us have in abundance. The architect ships are awakening across the galaxy. Other species are taking notice. Some will want to claim the ships for themselves. Others will want to destroy them to prevent another architect war. Elena realized the situation was becoming more complicated by the hour. Are there other species here? Besides your people? Yes, Zithara confirmed. The Veltar Empire has sent scouts. They believe the architect ships could give them dominion over the galaxy. The singing clans view the ships as abominations that should be destroyed. The Machine Collective sees them as sources of advanced technology to study. Elena looked at Captain Rodriguez with concern. We are caught in the middle of galactic politics that we do not understand. Zithara stepped closer to the humans. Your species is young, but you have something the galaxy has not seen for millions of years. You have the potential to unite, rather than divide. The question is whether you will use that potential wisely. Captain Rodriguez made a decision. We need to contact Earth immediately. Our government and scientists need to know about this situation. Be careful who you trust with this information, Zithara warned. There are those among every species, including yours, who would use the architect ships for personal gain rather than the common good. Elena felt overwhelmed by everything they had learned. In just a few days they had gone from simple explorers to being at the center of a galactic crisis that threatened all life. What happens now? Elena asked. Zithara looked toward the artificial planet visible through the cargo bay's viewport. Now you must decide what humanity will do with the greatest discovery in your history. Will you study the ships in secret? Will you share the knowledge with your entire species? Will you try to claim them for humanity alone? Elena looked at her fellow humans. They had come to space seeking knowledge and adventure. Instead, they had found responsibility that could shape the future of all life in the galaxy. We need to go inside, Elena said finally. We need to understand these ships completely before we make any decisions. Zithara's body flashed with approval. Wisdom, but be prepared for what you find. The architect ships contain knowledge that could elevate your species beyond imagination or drive you to the same madness that consumed their creators. As the Kethmori prepared to return to their ship, Elena stared out at the artificial planet. Somewhere inside that massive construct lay secrets that could save or damn every living being in the galaxy. The choice of what to do with that knowledge would soon rest with humanity. Elena only hoped her species was wise enough to choose correctly. 2 weeks had passed since the Kethmori first contacted the pioneer, Dr. Elena. Vasquez had not left the artificial planet during that entire time. She and her team worked around the clock to understand the architect technology, despite growing Pressure from alien civilizations to abandon their research? Elena floated through a vast corridor inside the planet ship, her portable scanner recording everything. The walls were covered with symbols that told the story of the architects. Through careful study, her team had begun to decode their language and history. "Doctor, you need to see this," called Dr. Chun-Wei from deeper inside the corridor. His voice echoed strangely in the massive space. Elena pushed off from the wall and drifted toward Chun's location. She found him standing before a wall covered with a huge star map. The map showed not just their galaxy, but dozens of other galaxies stretching across the universe. "This is incredible," Elena whispered. The architects mapped the entire local universe. Chun had pointed to different sections of the map. "Look at these markings. Each galaxy has symbols showing which worlds contain life. There are thousands of inhabited planets, Elena, maybe millions." Elena studied the map more carefully. The scope of life in the universe was far beyond anything humans had imagined. But what caught her attention were the dark areas between some galaxies. "What are these empty zones?" she asked. Chun's expression grew serious. "I think those are areas where the darkness has already been, entire galaxies that have been consumed." Elena felt a chill. The cosmic threat the HFY had described was real, and it had already destroyed vast regions of the universe. "Dr. Vasquez," came Captain Rodriguez's voice through her communication device. "Please return to the command center immediately. We have a situation." Elena and Chun quickly made their way back through the winding corridors of the planet ship. When they reached the Pioneer, they found the command center filled with tension. "What is happening?" Elena asked. Captain Rodriguez pointed to the main display. "We have company. 3 different alien fleets have arrived in the past hour." Elena looked at the tactical display and saw dozens of ships surrounding the artificial planet. The graceful crystal ships of the HFY were still there, but now they were joined by massive metal warships and sleek vessels that seemed to bend light around them. "The Veltar Empire has sent the battle fleet," explained Lieutenant James. "Park. They are demanding that we surrender the planet ship to them. The singing clans want us to evacuate immediately so they can destroy it. And the Machine Collective just arrived with research vessels." Elena felt overwhelmed. What do they all want? Zithara's musical voice came through the communication system. "Dr. Vasquez, the situation has become dangerous. You must consider leaving this place." "Why?" Elena asked. "We are just studying the technology. We are not trying to claim it for ourselves." A new voice joined the conversation. This one was harsh and mechanical. "Human vessel, this is Commander Thex of the Veltar Empire. You will cease your research and turn over all data you have collected. The architect ships belong to the strong, not to primitive species like yours." Elena felt anger rising in her chest. "We found this ship. We activated it. We have as much right to study it as anyone." Captain Rodriguez tried to calm the situation. "All vessels, we are peaceful researchers. We have no intention of using this technology for conquest or war." Another voice joined the communication channel. This one sounded like multiple beings singing in harmony. "The abomination must be destroyed before it corrupts another species. The architects brought only death and suffering. Their legacy must end." Elena looked at Captain Rodriguez with determination. "We cannot let them destroy this knowledge. The architects may have made mistakes, but their technology could save the entire galaxy from the darkness." "Dr. Vasquez," came Zithara's voice. "Again, you do not understand the forces you are dealing with. The Veltar Empire has conquered dozens of species. If they claim the architect ships, they will use them to enslave the galaxy. Elena made a decision that would change everything. Then we need to make sure they do not get them." Captain Rodriguez looked shocked. "Elena, what are you suggesting?" "We need to activate the planet ship's defenses," Elena said. "I have been studying the control systems. The architects built these ships to protect themselves and their cargo. We can use that protection to keep the technology safe." Dr. Chun looked worried. "Elena, we barely understand how this technology works. What if we make a mistake?" Elena pulled up the data they had collected on her portable computer. Look at what we have learned. The planet ship contains genetic samples from thousands of species. It has star maps showing safe worlds throughout the universe. It has technology that could solve energy problems, disease, even death itself. She paused and looked around at her team. But more importantly, it contains the only warning system about the approaching darkness. If we let the other species destroy this ship or use it for war, billions of beings will die when the darkness arrives. Captain Rodriguez considered Elena's words carefully. What exactly are you proposing? Elena brought up a schematic of the planet ship on the main display. The architects built multiple security systems into their ships. We can activate shields that will protect us from attack. We can also send a signal to all the other planet ships in the galaxy. What kind of signal? Asked James. Elena's eyes brightened with excitement. A message from humanity to every species in the galaxy. We share what we have learned about the architect technology and the approaching darkness. We invite everyone to work together instead of fighting over the ships. Doctor. Chun shook his head. The alien fleets will never allow us to send such a message. They will attack us before we can transmit it. Elena smiled. Not if we send it from inside the planet ship's shields. The architect defenses are designed to protect against exactly this kind of situation. Captain Rodriguez looked at the tactical display showing the alien fleets surrounding them. This is incredibly dangerous. We could start a galactic war. The war has already started, Elena replied. The different species are already choosing sides and preparing to fight over the architect ships. At least this way, we give everyone a chance to choose cooperation instead of conflict. Commander Thex's harsh voice came through the communication. System again. Human vessel, you have 1 hour to surrender your data and leave this system. If you refuse, we will take the planet ship by force. Elena looked at her team with determination. We do not have much time. Are we going to let other species decide the fate of this technology, or are we going to take responsibility for what we discovered? Dr. Chun was the first to speak. I am with you, Elena. This knowledge is too important to let others misuse it. Dr. Sarah Kim nodded agreement. The genetic samples alone could help every species in the galaxy. We cannot let them be destroyed or used for conquest. Captain Rodriguez looked around at her crew. She could see the determination in their faces. All right. We activate the defenses and send the message, but we do this carefully. One mistake could doom us all. Elena felt a surge of excitement mixed with fear. I will need to go back into the planet ship to access the main control systems. The activation sequence must be done from inside. I am coming with you, Chun said immediately. So am I, added Dr. Kim. Captain Rodriguez shook her head. Too dangerous. If something goes wrong, I need most of my people safe on the Pioneer. Elena understood, but she also knew they needed help to activate such complex systems. Chun comes with me. 2 people can cover more ground and watch each other's backs. Captain. Rodriguez agreed reluctantly. Take every precaution. And maintain constant communication with the ship. Elena and Chun quickly gathered their equipment and made their way back into the planet ship. As they moved through the corridors toward the central control area, Elena could feel the weight of their decision. Elena, Chun said quietly as they floated through a vast chamber filled with strange machines. Are you sure about this? We are essentially declaring that humanity will protect this technology from the rest of the galaxy. Elena paused to look at her friend. Chun, in 2 weeks we have learned more about the universe than humanity has discovered in its entire history. We found proof that life exists throughout the cosmos. We found technology that could solve every problem our species faces. And we found a warning that could save every living being in the galaxy. She gestured around at the ancient machines surrounding them. The architects made mistakes because they thought they alone knew what was best for the galaxy. But that does not mean we should make the opposite mistake and let others destroy or misuse what they created. Chun nodded slowly. You are right. Someone has to take responsibility. It might as well be us. They reached the central control chamber. A spherical room filled with holographic displays and control surfaces that responded to touch. Elena had spent days learning how to operate the basic systems. Now she would attempt something far more complex. Accessing defense systems, Elena said. Touching a series of symbols on the control panel, the chamber filled with light as ancient systems came to life. Throughout the planet ship, machines that had been dormant for millions of years began to activate. Elena, look at this, Chun called from another control station. The communication array is incredibly powerful. We can reach every corner of the galaxy. Elena moved to help Chun prepare the message they would send to all species. As they worked, warning alarms began sounding on the Pioneer. Dr. Vasquez, came Captain Rodriguez's urgent voice. The alien fleets are moving. They know something is happening. Elena's hands moved quickly over the control systems. Almost ready, Captain. Just a few more minutes. Outside the planet ship, 3 alien fleets prepared for battle. The Veltar Empire ships charged their weapons. The Singing Clan's vessels began powering up their destruction beams. The Machine Collective ships extended their analysis probes, but inside the ancient Architect vessel, 2 humans worked to change the course of galactic history. They were about to send a message that would reach every inhabited world in the galaxy, offering cooperation instead of conquest, unity instead of war. Elena's finger hovered over the final control. Ready, Chun? Chun nodded. Ready. Elena activated the system, and the planet ship's powerful shields surrounded them in a protective barrier just as the first alien weapons began to fire. The moment Dr. Elena Vasquez activated the planet ship's shields, everything changed. A brilliant barrier of energy surrounded the massive construct, deflecting the weapons' fire from 3 alien fleets. Inside the control chamber, Elena and Dr. Chen Wei watched as holographic displays showed the attacks bouncing harmlessly off their protection. The shields are holding, Elena said with relief. The Architect defenses are more powerful than I hoped. Chinyu is working frantically at the communication controls. Elena, the transmission array is ready. We can send our message to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Elena took a deep breath. What they were about to do would change everything. Send it, Chun. Chun activated the galaxy-wide broadcast. Their message began transmitting to billions of worlds, reaching every species that had achieved space travel. To all intelligent species of the galaxy, Elena's recorded voice began. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez of the human species. We have discovered the truth about the Architect planet ships and the cosmic threat approaching our galaxy. We invite all species to join us in cooperation, not conquest. As their message spread across the galaxy, Elena watched the tactical display showing the alien fleets around them. The attacks had stopped. All ships were holding position, waiting to see what would happen next. Dr. Vasquez, came Captain Rodriguez's voice through the communication system. Something strange is happening. The alien ships are receiving massive amounts of data from somewhere else. Elena looked at Chun with confusion. Data from where? Before Chun could answer, new voices began coming through their communication system. These voices were different from any they had heard before. They spoke in perfect human English, as if they had been studying the language for years. Greetings, children of Earth, said a warm, familiar voice. We have been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Elena felt her heart stop. The voice sounded almost human, but with something ancient and wise in its tones. Who are you? Elena asked. We are the Architects, the voice replied. Or rather, we are what the Architects became. Elena and Chen stared at each other in shock. The Architects were supposed to be extinct, vanished millions of years ago. That is impossible, Elena said. The Kethmori told us you disappeared long ago. A gentle laugh came through the communication system. We did not disappear, Dr. Vasquez. We evolved. We transcended our physical forms and became something new. But we never stopped watching over the galaxy and the ships we left behind. Elena's mind raced with questions. But why did you leave? Why abandon your ships and let the galaxy think you were gone? Because we made terrible mistakes, the architect voice replied sadly. In our fear of the approaching darkness, we became conquerors. Instead of protectors, we forced our vision of survival on others instead of working together. We realized that physical beings like ourselves could not be trusted with such power. Chun leaned forward. So you gave up your bodies? We chose to become beings of pure consciousness, the architect explained. We could watch and guide, but never again directly control. We waited for another species to discover our ships and prove they could make better choices than we did. Elena felt a chill of understanding. You have been testing us, testing humanity. Yes, the architect confirmed. And you have passed the test in ways we never expected? Instead of claiming our ships for your species alone, you chose to share the knowledge with the entire galaxy. Instead of using our technology for conquest, you offered cooperation. Elena looked around the control chamber with new understanding. The ships were never meant to be used by one species. They were meant to bring everyone together. Exactly, the architect said. The approaching darkness cannot be defeated by any single species, no matter how powerful. It can only be stopped by all life working as one. Elena heard new voices joining the communication channel. Zithara of the Kethmori spoke first. Architects, we have waited eons for your return. The galaxy has lived in fear of repeating your mistakes. And those fears were justified, the architect replied. But now a new path has been shown. The humans have demonstrated that it is possible to choose unity over domination. Commander Thex of the Veltar Empire's harsh voice cut in. This changes. Nothing. The strong still deserve to rule. We will claim these ships whether the architects approve or not. Elena felt anger at the alien commander's words, but the architect's voice remained calm. Commander Thex, look at your display screens. See what is happening throughout the galaxy? Elena watched her own displays as new information flooded in. The planet ships scattered across the galaxy were all activating simultaneously. But they were not just turning on their systems. They were connecting to each other, forming a vast network of communication and cooperation. The ships are linking together, Elena breathed in amazement. Each planet ship contains the knowledge and genetic heritage of thousands of species, the architect explained. When linked together, they form a repository of all life in the galaxy. No single species can control this network. It belongs to everyone or no one. Elena saw the genius of the plan. The architects had designed their ships so they could only reach their full potential when all species work together. Commander Thex's voice came back, now filled with anger. You cannot stop us from taking what we want. Actually, we can, the architect replied calmly. The ships will only respond to commands given by representatives of multiple species working in harmony. Attempts to use them for conquest will result in the ships shutting down completely. Elena heard the voices of the singing clans joining the conversation. If the ships cannot be used for war, then perhaps they do not need to be destroyed. The choice is yours, the architect said. You can continue fighting each other while the darkness approaches, or you can work together to save all life in the galaxy. Elena made a decision that surprised even herself. I want to speak to representatives of every species. Not as enemies, but as partners. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through with concern. Elena, what are you doing? Something. That should have been done long ago, Elena replied. She activated the planet ship's meeting facilities. Spaces designed by the architects for exactly this purpose, within hours. Representatives from dozens of species had come aboard the planet ship. Elena found herself in a vast chamber facing beings she had only heard about in alien transmissions. The Kethmori crystal beings stood next to the armored warriors of the Veltar Empire. The musical singing clans floated near the mechanical bodies of the machine collective. I know we all have different reasons for being here, Elena began. Some of you want to claim the architect technology. Some want to destroy it, some want to study it, but all of us face the same threat. She activated a holographic display showing the approaching darkness. In less than 1,000 years, this force will reach our galaxy. When it arrives, it will not care about our differences or our conflicts. It will consume everything. Zithara spoke first. The humans speak truth. The darkness has already consumed galaxies beyond counting. Commander Thex crossed his arms defiantly. The Veltar Empire is strong enough to fight any threat. Elena shook her head. No single species is strong enough. That is why the architects failed. They thought they could save the galaxy alone. A new voice joined the conversation. It belonged to one of the singing clans. What do you propose, human? Elena looked around at all the different species represented in the chamber. I propose we stop thinking like separate civilizations and start thinking like one galaxy. The planet ships contain everything we need to preserve life and knowledge. They can carry us to new galaxies if necessary. But only if we work together. The Machine Collective representative spoke in electronic tones. Define work together. What would such cooperation involve? Elena had been thinking about this moment since they first discovered the planet ship. Each species contributes what they do best. The Kethmori understand energy and consciousness. The Veltar are skilled warriors and protectors. The singing clans have knowledge of harmony and cooperation. The Machine Collective excels at analysis and calculation. She paused and looked directly at each representative. And humans bring something the galaxy has not seen for millions of years. We bring the ability to unite different groups toward a common goal. Commander Thex laughed harshly. Humans are barely capable of space travel. What could you possibly contribute? Elena smiled. We contributed the choice to share instead of conquer. We contributed the decision to invite cooperation instead of demanding submission. Those contributions just saved the galaxy from another architect war. The architect's voice filled the chamber. Dr. Vasquez speaks wisely. The planet ships are now fully activated and linked. They await the commands of a united galaxy. But they will only respond to decisions made by consensus, not conquest. Elena felt the weight of the moment. So what will it be? Do we face the darkness together, or do we let it destroy us while we fight each other? For several minutes, the chamber was filled with quiet conversations as each species discussed the proposal among themselves. Elena held her breath, knowing that the next few minutes would determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. Zithara spoke first. The Kethmori Collective agrees to join this alliance. One by one, the other species added their agreement. Even Commander Thex eventually admitted that cooperation was better than extinction. Elena felt tears of joy running down her face. Then let us begin. Let us use the architect ships not as weapons or tools of conquest, but as the bridge to a future where all life can thrive. As the representatives began planning their united response to the approaching darkness, Elena looked out at the stars through the chamber's viewport. Humanity had set out to explore empty space and found their place in a galaxy full of life. The architect's voice spoke to her privately through her communication device. You have done something we thought impossible, Dr. Elena Vasquez. You have given the galaxy hope. Elena smiled as she watched different species working together for the first time in millions of years. Sometimes the best discoveries are not the ones we seek, but the ones we choose to share. The galaxy would face the approaching darkness, but it would face it united. And in that unity lay the greatest hope for survival that the universe had seen in eons.